Okay, Peter, so I just wanted to go a bit off piece today and talk about something not really directly related to the current boxing situation, but a general undercurrent that runs through boxing that I don't think gets talked about a lot. And I just thought it would be interesting to delve into that. And I was prompted to, and what I'm going to talk about is religion and faith in boxing. You know, the boxing ring is almost a ring of faith. We often hear these proclamations from boxers about their belief, about their, their praise for God after their victories. And we hear this sort of undercurrent coming in that we don't really hear in, say, we don't hear it on the golf course, we don't hear it in the tennis court. So why is it so strong in boxing? And I was kind of prompted to look into this after Tyson's Fury's victory over Deontay Wilder, when the microphone was shoved in his face and the first question was, they wanted to ask about the fight. His first response was, I just want to give all thanks and praise to my Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ. I give him the glory and he gives me the victory. Tyson has often proclaimed this in the ring. He did it, very much after Vladimir Klitschko, all through fight week. With all the sort of 24/7 stuff going on, he was wearing a Jesus hat. And, Tyson's faith is very strong and sincere, and he credits it with helping him through, his various resurrections in the ring and outside the ring. So, but this is nothing new in boxing. And I think that's why it almost goes unremarked. I mean, if we go back to Henry Armstrong in the 30s, Henry Armstrong was the first three-weight world champion. He ruled simultaneously at featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, when there were only eight weight divisions. And he became a Baptist minister and an ordained Baptist minister, and proclaimed his faith very loudly, as he often did in the ring. And if we go through a few names of famous boxers who openly profess and proclaim their faith, I mean, we've obviously got Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Evander Holyfield, Yuri Foreman, Nigel Benn, Michael Watson, Tyson Fury, Bernard Hopkins, Manny Pacquiao, Andre Ward, Chris Bird, Robert Guerrero, Sean Porter, Paulie Malignaggi, Hasim Rahman, Matthew Syed, Mohammed Dwight White, and I could go on. So you kind of get the picture. Now, Yuri Foreman, obviously notably a rabbi and was WBA super welterweight champion, but Jewish boxers aren't overly represented in that selection. It's normally Christianity or Islam that is represented with those boxers. And I thought we'd just ask why. This is such a strong phenomenon in boxing, and I say it's so kind of ubiquitous and universal that, as I said, I don't think it really gets remarked upon. But I mean, the first thing to think is I think that maybe the nature of the sport, the harsh nature of the sport, the personal combat means that, there's an old saying, there's never any atheist in a foxhole. When you're going into these difficult situations where really, we have to say the boxers, it's something, it can feel like a life or death situation. It can feel intense pressure, for your own personal survival and for your progression. And that prompts almost a reaching out, a realization that you can't do this on your own, that you need to reach out to some sort of higher power to give you some sort of strength and self-belief. And also, it's been proved by sports psychologists that, the repetition of rituals of religion are stress relieving. So, that sort of thing can maybe give a fighter an edge in a dressing room if they're able to go through that. And it really promotes self-belief. And that belief, another very interesting thing that I noticed when I was looking at this is the amount of boxers with a professed faith and religion who've featured in massive upsets, in real David and Goliath upsets. I mean, if we go back to Muhammad Ali, a 7-1 underdog against Sonny Liston, proclaimed in the ring afterwards, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, can't nobody be against me. So, with that faith, and also with that significance and motivation that faith can give you, because it's not just a boxing match. Now you're a sort of representative in a cosmic battle almost, and so it has a deeper meaning, which gives you more motivation for that fight. So, and obviously Ali was very vocal in his beliefs and figured in that upset, and later figured in a great upset against Foreman when he was again the underdog 10 years later, hugely. And again, this is about the psychological strength that belief can give you, because he was fighting Foreman, who was supposed to annihilate him, and had disposed of people so easily, like Frazier, that had given Ali so much trouble. And Ali said in the build-up to the fight, but he said, when I look at it, from the sense of, my God can move mountains, my God can do this. What does George Foreman looks like a baby to me, compared to the power of my God behind me. So, that obviously gave him a psychological edge going in against the ogre that was Foreman. And he scored that big upset. And then Foreman himself, after being beaten by Ali in '74, he retired in '76 when he had a religious vision in the dressing room after a loss to Jimmy Young, when he was supposed to be warming up to fight Ali again, and he retired for 10 years. I didn't box again for 10 years, and then at 35, he decided to come back, and lots of people laughed at this and thought, this is ridiculous. At this point, George was, weighing well over 300 pounds. His penchant for hamburgers was well known. He looked terribly out of shape, and he decided he was going to come back at that advanced age after 10 years off. But 10 years later, at 45, he upset Michael Moore. And by the way, Foreman became a minister as soon as he retired, became an ordained minister, and set up a church in Houston where he still preaches. And at 45 years old, he won the heavyweight title of the world back again in a stunning upset from Michael Moore. So, and also, I mean, we could go on about these, but when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, a 42-1 underdog, he credited that with his belief in God, the reason that he wasn't scared of Tyson, and he managed to bring it to Tyson and score that incredible victory. So, and again, you look at Fury Klitschko, again, Fury's faith seemed to give him that self-confidence and self-belief that he was able to upset the champion in his own backyard. And maybe again, when he fought Wilder for the first time, when again, that was supposed to be a really sort of disastrous move for Tyson against, an established accredited puncher when he'd only had 2 sort of brief comeback fights. So, that religious faith as an underpinning for these sort of upsets seems to be able to sort of almost give people create a David and Goliath mindset, where they think, well, I can do this, I can win this because I have this strength and I have this faith on my side. So, and like I say, it brings that greater meaning and motivation to fighters. So I just think it's a fascinating thing as to why it's so prevalent in boxing and why it's such an undercurrent and why it just seems to give such a strong sort of belief and passion to so many fighters. And I think we look at other fighters like Nigel Benn, for example, is a great example. Nigel Benn's been down the gym talking extensively about his faith here, and he didn't have that faith in the boxing ring. But when he retired from boxing, his life kind of fell apart. And he attempted suicide. It was drugs, it was alcohol, it was women, it was all those sort of things. And becoming a born again Christian pretty much saved his life. He now goes around the world in a very healthy and respected individual, talking about his faith and proclaiming that, and also obviously talking about his career. And incidentally, his trainer, Jimmy Tibbs, a very famous, probably one of the most famous, trainers in England, Jimmy Tibbs, again, had quite a past, Jimmy, but became a born again Christian and had huge success with his fighters and everything else after that. So I think it's a strong undercurrent that runs through boxing. I think it's a very interesting phenomenon. There's various reasons you can say for it, the threat of boxing, the inspiration that it can give people, but I just think it's a fascinating phenomenon. It's there to stay, and I just thought we'd be interesting to look at it today and look at how those people. I mean, again, I could go on about these examples all the time, but Manny Pacquiao, now retired, now running for president of the Philippines, would often pray for his opponents and himself before the fight. And when he fought Floyd Mayweather, another great believer, he said to Floyd, look, maybe we can study Bible verses after the fight. Whether that ever came to pass, I don't know. But, again, a great, exemplar for boxing, a great exemplar for humanity, and, and a great exemplar for his faith. Manny's been out there, really living that for quite some time. So, like I said, I could go on all day about these examples of people that have professed it and people that have lived it. But I just thought I'd throw that out there because it's something that's right in front of us that fighters often proclaim, but that we don't kind of talk about it because it seems so ubiquitous. And like I say, it doesn't seem so prevalent in other sports, but we have it in boxing. So a talking point for the start of the week, Peter. And God bless you. And we move on.